Well, I call this the bodybuilding formula or bodybuilding blueprint, and basically it's G equals EARN, and that's a mnemonic device. E stands for exercise, and there's 4 categories of exercise. First is weight training, of course. Then there is aerobic activity, and then there is posing. And so those are the factors involved in building your body. Oh, the other one is stretching. So it's WASP, weight training, aerobics, stretching, and posing. Those are all the different forms of exercise that you can do to get in shape. Now, the next letter is A, attitude. And basically that's involved with what you think about, what you say, and what you do. And it's also about having a goal, something to go for. You really have to have some kind of goal. I always did, you know, for all those years I competed, I kept a notebook and I wrote everything down in that. And at the beginning of the notebook, I would write a calendar and put on that calendar the date I planned to peak. Usually it was to compete, but toward the end of my career, it was just about reaching a peak so I could take photos. And I did that every year pretty much. And EAR, R is recuperation. And basically that's involved with getting enough sleep by, depending on what your situation is. 7 to 8 hours a day is optimum. I don't really get all that at one clip, but I do tend to take a nap in the afternoon, or at least a meditation session. The other one, of course, is meditation, sitting and in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed and clearing your mind. The whole thing is not to think about anything. Of course, that's almost impossible. But I would say mantra, which basically is a saying. It can be in any language. Like, for example, you might say, I am strong and creative. That's an English mantra. But I have a couple that I use on a regular basis. And basically what a mantra does is it crowds out negative thinking. If you just let your mind wander all the time, a lot of the times it'll dwell on things like doubt and worry. And you want to be present-centered and not have any of that going on. So the less of that you can do, the better off you'll be. Try to maintain a positive attitude as much as possible all the time. So it's EAR, and then of course is one of the most important things, not that any one is more important, I treat them all equally, is nutrition. If you don't eat correctly, you're never going to get in shape. You can see younger people, for example, they're guys in their teens, they don't have to pay as much attention to it because, they have a younger, more effective metabolism. But as you get older, it gets more and more important. Now, at my age, I really have to stick to a good diet. I pretty much eat the same way all the time. It's a breakfast of eggs and cheese and avocado and some whole grain toast. And then dinner around 4 o'clock is pretty much some kind of meat. Usually it's fish. It might be chicken or turkey, and a vegetable or salad. And I stick to that all the time. Before bed, I might have a small piece of fruit. I take amino acids throughout the day between meals. And I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm a bodybuilder for life now. I've been at it 61 years. From age 14, ever since I picked up a barbell, my hands stuck to it. And still at this age, I'm 78, and I'm still doing the best I can. Well, I arrived in Santa Monica in 1969. I lived about a mile and a half gym, and I was a school teacher. I was teaching mathematics at a nearby junior high school in Venice. And so I would, I didn't have all the time in the world to train, because then I was going to graduate school too. But I had the summers off, and that enabled me to really go all out and train for competition in the summer. So it worked out pretty nicely. But it was fantastic. Gold's Gym. I wrote sort of a poem about that. I don't have it in front of me, but it was really great. It's not many windows or doors, but it had very good mirrors, and that was the thing. I would get there about 7 in the morning or so, and Zabel Kazuski, which was one of my idols, a really nice guy, known from Gold's for his abdominals. He did 500 Roman chair sit-ups in the morning and 500 leg raises in the afternoon. And I patterned my abdominal work after what these people were doing at the gym. And, you know, and it was sort of old school, but it really worked. I remember one day I was doing Roman chair sit-ups, and my goal was to do them for a half an hour more each day. And so the first day I did them for half an hour, and I eventually worked up to 2.5 hours. And my focus was really keen. What I would do is I would focus on the four corners of the room and sort of try to be there and view myself doing them from below. Arnold said he walked in one day and he tried to talk to me, but he could tell I wasn't there. And so he just left. But those were great days. I mean, it was a pretty closely knit community where everybody's social life was the same as with the guys who were in the gym. But, you know, we've been away from that for some time now. Everybody's moved. Draper was there. Now he's in Santa Cruz, and Arnold's still in LA area, and I'm in La Mesa, San Diego area. And so we do our thing from where we're at, but it's the same. But, you know, I can still do the pose. And basically, I found the key to doing that pose. The exercise was dumbbell pullover lying across the bench, and to develop the serratus muscles to maximum. And you might see some people doing that today, but they really don't have the serratus to match how good the vacuum is. You got to have them both. And I really haven't seen that many good vacuums. You know, Arnold had a good vacuum, and also Mike Benser had a pretty good vacuum too. But I don't see anybody say, I often thought it should be made into a compulsory pose for the behemoths that compete today. London Mr. Universe, I was competing in the amateur division, and Arnold was in the pro division. And he watched my routine, and he saw me doing the vacuum, but I did it in the middle right to, and he says, you know, you want to finish with that because that's your best pose. And so I took his advice. We used to have posing sessions. We call them posing clinics, where we go over to Arnold's apartment, and it'd be Arnold, Franco Colombo, and me, and we just do routines and critique each other. And anytime anybody would give a posing routine, we would get criticism from the other. Like I'd always ask Arnold what he thought. He'd talk about the most meticulous things about how I moved my feet or where my feet were placed, things like that. You know, and so we learned a lot, and at the end it resulted in everybody looking better. Well, I guess winning would be the most, winning the Olympia 3 times, the first time. It was all very synchronistic, some of the things that happened. I remember I was on stage, and we have the top 6 standing on stage, and Reg Park was a great guy. I really loved Reg, you know, spent some time with him in South Africa in 1978, but he was one of the judges, and he walked past me, and he had his judging tablet next to his chest. And at the time I said to myself, I said, please, universe, give me a sign right now so I can act more like the winner. And at that moment, Reg Park walked right past me with his tablet that said, Frank Zane won, Robbie Robinson. I don't know who else was there, Robbie Robinson, Ed Corney. And that, I knew I was the winner at that point. So I think you got to do the basics. And I certainly did a lot of those with free weights, with barbells and dumbbells. Now my gym, I have a lot of machines, which I can get the same effect. But it matters how you do that exercise. I find that what you should do to get the most out of it for the serratus, and not overdevelop like the rib cage and you know, get your upper abs too thick, was to lie with your head where when you turn your head from side to side, the bench went right in the base, right at the top of your neck, right at the base of your skull. And in that position, with my arms slightly bent, I would lower the dumbbell all the way to the floor, almost touching it, and then stop with the weight over my face, keeping the tension on that area. Then I always stretched between sets. I would do one exercise called the one-arm shoulder stretch, where I basically would hold my arm over my head. I don't want my trophy to fall here on the floor. Okay, like this, and pull my elbow back with my arm, with each arm. And I did a lot of stretching all the time, stretch for 15 seconds after each set. It's really important because I think as you get older, you get stiffer, especially if you don't stretch. And so I stretch all the time. Even when we walk every morning with our dog for about 1.5 miles, and what I do is I do an exercise called one leg up stretch, where I elevate one leg and lean forward to stretch my lower back and my hamstring. And that really helps, alleviate any kind of tension in my lower back. So over the years, I've accrued, a number of injuries, and those things don't ever seem to go away. They sort of go into abeyance, and they're easily aggravated. So I take precautions to keep warm when I'm training. I use Nikken body magnets in certain areas, like on my lower back, to keep blood in the area. In the gym, I wrap my weight stacks with rubber cables. I use body elastics, rubber cable that have clips on the end. So I wrap one around my weight stack. I use the green ones. And so as the weight stack rises up, the cable tension kicks in. So I'm getting the best resistance I possibly could. I'm getting resistance due to gravity from the weights, and resistance due to elasticity from the cable stretching. And it enables me to use less weight. And that's made it a lot easier on my joints. That's the thing. What hurts your joints is going heavy. And especially if you're not ready to do that, if you don't warm up, if you're not strong enough, and so that becomes especially important as you get older. And my motto is make lighter weights feel heavier. And I do that by using strict form, slower negatives, using rubber cables wrapped around weight stacks, for example, to get even more tension. The main thing is to get a good pump. That's my goal. Every movement I do, I want to get a good pump, because that's what matters the most. Well, the only place I train is in my personal gym, which is 600 square feet, just loaded with all the equipment I need. And so the temperature is always, pretty good. So I'm usually training with the t-shirt, keeping my shoulders covered. I don't really cover up more than that. And I might, I stretch and sometimes pose between sets, flexing the muscles, and, work out relatively quick, maybe doing a set every 2 minutes, working slightly heavier every set. And, I always get a good pump. I do right now a two-way split, upper body one day and legs the next, but most of my career I've done a three-way split, doing pulling muscles, back biceps forms day 1, legs day 2, chest, shoulders, triceps day 3, rest day 4. And I've probably done more of that than any other routine, which I really like. And if I had a reason to get in top shape again, which I don't right now, I mean, I stay in okay shape, but I don't do anything like extravagant training to peak, I would do that routine again. I think that's the best routine.
When it comes
if I had to choose, I'd say yeah. Because if you're not eating right, nothing's going to happen. Now, maybe if you're young enough, you can see something happening. When you get older, nothing happens unless you're on a good diet. You really have to be. I know I have to be. Yeah, you got to pay attention to everything, all those little variables. And the thing that I got the most value out of is I never really relied on measurements or body weight, how much I weighed, because I never really weighed a lot. Most I weighed in shape was like 190. And so I relied on photos. And my wife is an excellent photographer. She took countless color slides of me. And then Artie Zeller was around in those days, who was amazing. And, we had a lot of sessions with Artie. Some of my best photos were with him. And we really miss those guys. I miss Artie and Zabo and Joe Golden. I got to go with Steve Reeves. He's always been number one for me. And then next would be Larry Scott. I mean, Larry Scott had, ideal body. The parts I liked most on Larry was delts and arms. But he was a great guy too. I remember the first time I talked with him was in 1965, backstage at the Olympia, where he was competing. And I got to talk to him close, and I couldn't believe what he looked like from about 3 feet away. He had all these fine lines in his delts, and that's something you didn't see from far back. I was really, really impressed by him. But it's been great. All these champions that have been coming up through the years, and the fact that I was around and actually competed against almost all of them. Competed against Sergio, Arnold, Reg Park, Bill Pearl, Robbie, Mike Menser. So it's been a great honor.